this on my desktop to save, so I can open it up and show you the difference. Alright, and so I'm going to go back and I'm going to open up an ArchiCAD, and the first thing I'm going to do is, I'm not going to use the last profile. If I use the last profile, it will bring all of those AutoCAD layers in with it, which is not what I want. So I'm going to go to default profile, I'm going to create a new project and press new. So this gives me a brand new ArchiCAD again, straight out of the box. Okay, so I'll just hide that, and I'm going to drop this guy into here, like so. Go to there, change that to 1 meter, which is what we know, place. Skip all of the text because we don't need to worry about that. Skip. Where to put it? What happened? Lost it. No, that's not there. Let's try this one. It's not coming in there. What have I done wrong? Oh, there it is. Ah! Sorry. Get rid of that one. Came in, I couldn't see it because that's out of range. Alright. So look, this one, when we open this one, document layers, settings, notice how it hasn't got all of those AutoCAD stuff in there. It's just all our lovely ArchiCAD bits, which is good.
So does that mean you have to place it as an external drawing as opposed to dragging it into it?
Well,
Or just the exploit?
it works the same way.
Okay.
Works the same way. It's asking us the same questions. When we get to this stage though, it's important not to do one thing, which is what I'm about to show you. So we go to
So
edit.
you want it to go on another layer? Like, do you want it to go on a specific layer?
Yes, I'm going to make a new layer for it.
Oh, okay, because it's already set to go to the ArchiCAD layer.
Yeah, I don't want it on the ArchiCAD layer. So what I do is I explode this into the current view, and I'm going to use the drawings layer instead of using the import embedded layers. We don't want to bring in all of these layers because they're going to cause us grief. So just use drawings layers, and press OK, and then we can just get rid of that background box. And the next thing that we need to do, document layers, layer settings, we're going to create a new layer. And my little cheat for this is I put a number 1 and then I put 2 spaces and I call this AutoCAD import survey. Okay. And guess what? It goes to the top of the list because I put those spaces there. And then I'm going to hide that layer and press OK. Nothing has happened so far. But, and still all of this is on the ArchiCAD layer, as you'll see. I don't want it on the ArchiCAD layer because that's a special layer for us that ArchiCAD uses in different times. We want this to be on a layer called survey so we can call it up when we need it. The next thing I'll do is I'll just suspend the layers, suspend the groups. I select that now, and you'll notice here I've got 1600 or 1700 elements selected. And they're all just like that. Okay. So I'm going to now pop them into the AutoCAD import survey layer. What's going to happen, what you'll see, is they're going to come in element type by element type. Have a seat. We do. Take one of these. And one of these. So what's what's going to happen, there's 5 or 6 different element types in AutoCAD. There's lines, there's text, there's fills, there's polylines, there's circles, there's all sorts of stuff. ArchiCAD does these one at a time. So when I go here, even though they're all selected, you're going to see only a couple of things disappearing. And I have to do that a number of times. And you see, eventually it gets a bit sparse, and finally it'll end up with nothing there. So now I've put everything into this document layers. I can turn on my AutoCAD's import survey layer, press OK there. Everything now is on that layer called AutoCAD import survey. That's important for us because when we are creating our layouts later, as you know, bringing everything into the layout book, we've got all of those combinations for the drawings. And we cheated a little bit in the courtyard house. We said show and unlock all, but you're going to get to the discipline, the real job of saying, well, I've got structural plans, I've got electrical plans, I've got overhead lighting plans, etc., etc. Those layer combinations become important. If we'd polluted our ArchiCAD with 28 different AutoCAD layers with numbers, it'd be a disaster. It'd be so much clicking, it'd be hours of clicking every time. So this way, it's just one extra thing to add to the layer combination. And I'll keep on explaining that. As it is though, we've got all of our data now, and it's all on this one layer there. And if I wanted to hide that layer, hide layer comes up in the right menu, and there it's all gone in one click. One thing that I've done, we're on the ground floor now. The other thing that I want to do while we're here is actually put this on a different story. The way that I work in ArchiCAD is with stories here. We go to story settings. We've got -1 here, 0, etc. It goes up and down. There's all these weird numbers. I prefer to work with this one. I call it AHD. And that elevation is going to be 0. And then whatever this number is goes to the ground floor. On our job, we will actually change the numbers quite significantly, and there's a whole lesson involved in working out where to put the ground floor on this project. But I'm not going to go too far into that right now. I prefer, when I get a survey, to actually put it onto the AHD story. And then I turn on the trace so that when we're on the ground floor, we look through at our survey, we've got nothing drawn on the ground floor so far. As we need to get elements from the survey, we can either go downstairs, copy them, paste them up to there, or we can draw over the top and create everything in 3D after that point. So this way we're keeping our data separate. If you're drawing straight over the top of the survey, you've perpetually got the problem of what have I selected, what am I clicking on, and the trace function here works very well in our favour if we use the stories to work for us. So I'm just renaming my -1 as AHD. I'll keep everything else the same. And go back to ground floor where everything was. I'm going to take this, I'm going to copy it, I'm going to delete it, and I'm going to paste it this time onto AHD where it belongs. So now it's on AHD. And then if I was setting up a proper file, I'd be worrying next thing about where the north point is. Now our north is shown here with this lovely ornate King Edwardian, whatever it is, sceptre, north point.
That's the way that is not fun.
Yeah, well it's 8 degrees off. Won't make that much difference.
I thought it was 12.
Oh, I thought it was 8. Anyway, we go to options, project preferences, set project north, and I can just click on this line here and rotate that north point up to there. It It tells us that the angle is 117.12 degrees if you read the screen. We've set our project north properly to our project.
Can you do it
Luckily-
again, please, sorry, before you go.
Sorry?
Can you do it again,
Yeah. So,
please?
so I go options, project preferences, set project north. The north point comes up, and we can click once and click again, and just by tracing over the north point there, we've created our north for our job. And we're lucky because this sheet and north pretty much conform with our standard of drawing with north straight up and down the page, and we're in a landscape format, so that works fine for us. And we've got a long side, north is to the top of the page, so the next part of the job is quite mechanical. Just come down here, grab these markers and place them. Now I hope that's north. That's
It's
yeah.
elevation.
That's good. That's right. So that works fine. And once we grab them, we need to stretch them out. Remember, this one here is move, node, or stretch. Stretch it out just a little bit past the site. And we'd have to do that to all of them. Sorry, this is the boring jobs, the little housekeeping jobs that we do at the beginning of the job to get it set up. So stretch that out, and the east and west will be the same process. And I'll pop him somewhere there. Now, one thing when I'm doing these east and wests, I'm actually going to go a little bit further than what it shows me here for the surrounding building, because then I can see all of my surrounding building and the elevation as I do it. So I just take it up to there and grab the west. Pop it there. Take it out to there, like so. Alright, and then what's left is these sections. So we'll just drag a section through the guts of the side. So that's what I call a longitudinal section, and it just comes from the word long. It's a longitudinal section, and a transverse section is a section going the other way. So this is what we call the transverse section. You don't have to call it a transverse section, you just give it a number if you like. So now we've got our section set up, we've got our drawing in the AHD, our survey. Our survey is on a layer called AutoCAD Import Survey. There's no other layers being used, and if we now go to the ground floor, can't see a thing because we haven't turned on trace. So when we go to the trace, which is this guy, choose reference. Well, let's go trace and reference first. And choose reference. And it's actually showing us below the current story. So it's looking straight downstairs. You will recall the first exercise I gave you was set up this way. I gave you that courtyard house just as a line drawing, and you traced over the top of it. Well, this is the way I always work. I will always trace over what the surveyor gave me as the drawing for my site. I'll never draw it up myself, in case I make a mistake. I'm not insured for that. He is. If it ever came down to an issue of, oh, you've drawn this and put the building in the wrong